This is Morten, and we are back from this little break. I hope you had some time to go and see Printing Expo online. I think it's a wonderful experience, and of course you should take the opportunity when you have it. I have the pleasure now of introducing my good friend Chris Schowalter, who works for Fiery. So Chris, welcome to the Industry Speaks. That's you basically, right?
Thank you very much for having me. It's always good to see you.
We have a lot of things we need to get through, but before we do that, I think we should take a look at the video that you have prepared. So, do you agree?
Perfect. Thank you.
Fantastic. I like that you agreed. Otherwise, I would be in big troubles right now, right? So, thank you very much.
We know your print business faces challenges right now, and do you see market trends that indicate the need to adapt and change even more in the future? But who is the best technology partner to help your business thrive? Who can you depend on to deliver solutions to your challenges now and in the future? Fiery digital front ends and workflow software are the products print businesses trust to deliver productivity, color and image quality, workflow automation, and connections to business systems. These are the 4 fiery pillars of innovation you've trusted for over 30 years. Why? Because we never stop innovating to respond to your needs in these critical areas. Performance means the digital front end drives the print engine at the rated speed, always. Whether it's a series of short-run jobs or a complex variable data project. Innovative technologies like HyperRip produce blazing fast rip speeds that mean you never slow down production waiting for a job to process. Fiery color quality is second to none, meeting or exceeding all industry standards. And we're simplifying and automating color processes, so anyone on your staff can produce great color, hit brand colors easily, and verify that it meets customer requirements. Fiery imaging technology enables you to easily pass industry PDF standards like Gantt Workgroup Suite. Fiery Job Expert intelligent automation technology analyzes incoming PDF files and automatically chooses the optimal print settings to print jobs correctly the first time. Every job can come out perfectly on the first print run, even for less experienced operators. How do you get an increasing number of short-run jobs through your shop for a same-day turnaround? Fiery automation tools pre-flight and fix files, route them to a workflow, apply imposition templates, and set correct job properties, dramatically reducing touches, time, and cost. Fiery Command Workstation is the #1 job management interface that enables Fiery users around the world to drive over 2 million Fiery print servers. As the industry standard for efficient print production, it gives you the flexibility to drive different printer technologies and pursue new market opportunities while keeping your Fiery workflow constant. With the rise in security attacks, you can also keep your print shop safe with the built-in security features of Fiery DFEs. Connect your Fiery servers to the rest of your shop systems with a simple, free way to transfer job information and status into your systems. Get a management view of your production with EFI IQ, a cloud-based suite of applications that give you actionable insight to improve operations. How about ongoing support? EFI produces hundreds of free learning courses and videos, along with paid certification programs to train your staff and minimize the business impact of staff turnover. You can also find answers to your production questions 24/7 by joining EFI communities to get advice from Fiery experts and exchange information with other print professionals. Partner with EFI Fiery. We're here to help you profitably grow your business today and maximize your print potential for today and tomorrow. Learn more at efi.com/fiery.
Fantastic. Great to be back here. And Chris, it seems that EFI Connect is the place where big announcements are made when it comes to something that relates to some of the companies within EFI. Can you explain what happened here in January?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in general, when you do a bigger announcement, you always try to do it at a show or where you have enough people that are actually listening to it. What we announced, I mean, for people that don't know, is that EFI was always used to have multiple business units, but EFI now is separated into 2 organizations or 2 companies. One is EFI, and the other one is actually Fiery. So I am part of the Fiery Group, and that was the big announcement.
We're going to talk more about Fiery and the products and service, of course. I can help think about, because you and I, we met at Cprint in France just a few weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago, and it was kind of interesting because we spoke about, if you look at the history of EFI, we both thought that actually your division should be called EFI, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, I mean, I actually got asked in the past, like, hey, when did EFI acquire Fiery, right? Because we acquired so many companies over time, but it's really the other way around. Fiery was the start of the organization.
It was the very foundation, right?
Exactly, and it was actually Efi Arazi, and Efi being the first name became the company name later, and standing for electronics for imaging. So
and for those who don't know this, I mean, even Efi was the one that was also the founder of Cytex, and I mean, he has a lot on his conscience when it comes to good things in the industry, right?
Absolutely.
I was just thinking about, because I mean, Fiery, I think that most people think of Fiery as the RIPs that are driving a lot of printing equipment. You also mentioned that in your video. Is that the business that you are in, or do you do other things?
That is definitely the core business. I'm kind of laughing because we always don't like to be called a RIP because we're doing so much more, right? But
that was the starting point, right?
Exactly. The core is raster image processor. So we're driving, or we're shooting the pixels to the print machine. Now, obviously, you start building a lot of things around that. You do the color management, you do the workflow, you do the integration, automation, layouting, et cetera, et cetera. So we call it a RIP and color management workflow. But yeah, basically, we are the heart of a brain that drives the printer and all the software pieces around it to make it as efficient as possible.
When I say RIP and you react to it, I know that we always talk openly with each other, and I like that, but do you think that people, for the majority, see a Fiery as a RIP only?
Yeah, I guess that's very valid. And the reason why I reacted is because I was in marketing for a while, right?
Okay,
and
so it comes down to you, basically, right?
Yeah, whenever I wrote RIP, right, I get the feedback that obviously, we need to do some more around it. No, people think of it as a RIP for sure, but people also look at us as the expert that can make the RIP perform better or add more pieces to it in the front. And RIP is, while we use the terminology, it's not about rasterizing of pixels anymore. It might not even be about color management anymore. Even though color management is obviously a fundamental thing, because without quality, I mean, we're not even talking, right? But it's all about that efficiency and how to remove touch points and how to get operators actually away from the printer.
Yeah, and as I said to you just during the break, my colleague did an interview with your new CEO, Toby Weiss, about Fiery, and as far as I remember from that interview, he basically spoke about that Fiery is so much more, and is maybe also a product that can be used in many other industries. And I think that this widening out, not just into the new print, but also to other industries, is maybe why it is a very wise decision to split Fiery into a separate company.
Yeah, there's really two parts to it. I mean, first of all, I mean, especially for us as the quote inkjet group within the Fiery organization, I mean, I'm with the organization since 12 years now. It has been tremendous, right? Due to the fact that we acquired as EFI so many different print technologies. I mean, we went super deep into the ceramic space, building material space. Then we went into the textile space, right? So we had the opportunity to go into those spaces and learn all the different requirements. And believe me, they are very, very different. You think you know color, but once you shoot a towel through 500 Celsius kiln that changes color and all that sorts of stuff, it's right out crazy. So we learned all those things, and we were able to productize them. And Fiery is available in a multitude of different flavors. So most people think of it probably as this, OEM-driven computer that sits next to a color copier for argument's sake. But we now have Fieries that are fully bladed, that drive single-pass inkjet machines. We have 100% attach rate with the Landas. In there, we have what we call an Fiery Impress, which is more off a shelf kind of, which can be used for smaller inkjet label printer machines, for example. So we really have a technology piece that can go into each market segment.
I met some of your colleagues at the Seiko Open House last year in Frankfurt, and I was a little bit surprised. I think it was some of your Spanish colleagues, and as you said, in ceramics. And I was just wondering, when you do, I mean, because you can think of software, that's just software, right? You have a computer, that's just a computer. But I take that you must have very close relationship with all the I was just about to say component suppliers, from print heads to ink manufacturers to all the things that for example, drives the color process. Or is that true, or how is that?
It's true, and we have been very fortunate, while we really like to be a standalone Fiery now, right? But very fortunate to be part of or be EFI, because we had it all, right? I mean, we had the printer, we have an ink manufacturing facility. The printheads EFI is sourcing, but we as Fiery built the electronics to drive the printheads. So I don't think there's any, just software vendor that's so close to the electronics or the single pieces and controls.
It must be both fun but also a challenge, because I mean you have so many touch points. I mean, sometimes when you wake up in the morning, do you know which direction to head?
I don't. Does that answer your question?
And I was not talking about getting here to Worcester, but
yeah, I was lost a little bit this morning, so I can operate a Fiery well, but my iPhone might be a different challenge. It's all the team effort, right? And team is not only within Fiery, it's the partners, right? So it's both the customers, but also the printer partners, EFI, but also other printer partners, where end of the day, we are here to make the printer outperform the customer's expectation. And that becomes a win-win, and it is a teamwork.
If I say Fiery Impress, what do you then say?
I am excited.
Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more for the people that are not as impressed as you are, so to speak?
Of course. When we're looking at the Fiery product, the hardware Fiery drives in Landa and Xerox, and I need to call them all out now so no one gets upset. It's a very customized project-specific piece of software and hardware. We're actually building a dedicated video board that controls the print heads.
So you develop the video board yourself, basically?
Exactly, which is definitely a unique differentiation that Fiery has, especially with volume.
Which also requires size, of course, right?
Yeah, exactly, because the development of a chip is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But then you can produce a volume, and that's why it works really well. So that's what you think of a Fiery, and that certainly is the Fiery. But what does it mean for a smaller print vendor that doesn't have the volume, where he might be concerned that I would like to have this Fiery technology, but maybe I can't afford this projects, cycles, development, etc. And that's where Impress comes in. So Fiery Impress is a full-blown Fiery. But without the customization from our side for the video, etc.
So that basically means that, let's say, as you mentioned, but just to make it very precise, that basically means that, okay, I have an idea, I would like to make my own inkjet printer, so I go to whatever vendor that offers print heads, and then I need some software to manage it, and then I go to you and I get the Impress, and then I have some developers that make those things work together.
So we'll first ask you, do you have a shuttle-based inkjet or a single-pass inkjet?
Yeah.
If you're shuttle-based, you come to my group, we're going to have a conversation about Fiery XF. If it's a single-pass, then we will have a discussion about Fiery Impress, and then the question becomes, do you want to have a fully customized product for you? Then we're happy to do that. Or do you want to take one off the shelf without a video board, but it has an API, and therefore you can then do the bits and pieces that connect to the Fiery, and you can build that to yourself, which makes the overall project more feasible.
And I was about to say that if you look at some of the online printers today, or some of the larger printing companies in general, where they have IT people and they have very skilled people understanding how to program, how to integrate using the APIs, this gives you actually new opportunities in the market, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually the big ones, they're great to work with. We're working obviously on a multitude of bigger accounts right now. And you might think they're more demanding, and they certainly are from a contractual standpoint, from a pricing standpoint.
That we don't care about. Now we talk about the product, right?
Exactly, but from a technology standpoint, they're actually way more reasonable, right? Because all that integration and fully automated stuff, I mean, it's so complex, and they have been in it, and they understand that, okay, if there's my 100%, I know this year I can maybe achieve a 20%. I can spec that out. I can work with a vendor together, and I can make it work. So we have been a very good partner, I want to think, and maybe we have some questions later of some of the big ones. Who knows?
Who knows?
But it's been very rewarding for both sides, I think.
Yeah. When you talk about, for example, that the Fiery is way more than just the ribbon, we talk about the colors, we talk about the workflow, we talk about all the things that goes into whatever a Fiery is. when you look at the competitors in the market, do you see a huge difference in choosing Fiery over your competitors? I mean, of course you should say yes, but then you have to explain why and what.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't want to talk about the competition. I can.
No, but the reason I'm asking is because I mean, there's a lot of, let's say, color management software components, right? And as you just described with the integration of both hardware and software, it should give people advantage. And I take that. I know that red is not red, but I mean, is it because of the speed? Is it because of your unique way of doing things that makes you unique in the market, or?
There's a couple of things, of course, which make us very, very unique, right? If you look at it from a color standpoint, majority of RIP vendors, they're licensing from the big guys, X-Rite, ColorLogic, et cetera, which are tremendous companies, great technology. I'm not going to say anything bad about anyone in the industry. We develop color all ourselves, and that gives us more flexibility to react faster to issues in the field. And we are talking industrial production. Issues are happening in the field. So we can go in, change the code whenever we want. We can adjust color issues. We stay industry compliant with ICC profiles, but allow iterations, right? While other companies that do iterations force you to device link certain media, that kind of stuff. We have unique ripping technologies which make us the fastest rip on the planet. It's either hardware-based, as we already talked about, but also on the software side, we have a technology which we call Fast Rip, which is basically taking the Adobe APPE and changing some things around it, which makes us up to 12 times faster than the competition. We're the only RIP manufacturer, and now I say RIP myself, the only RIP manufacturer on the planet that can give you a solution that can drive inkjet, single pass inkjet, and toner devices, right? And that matters, especially if you have a multitude of machines, same learning curve, same user interface, etc. So it becomes way easier to train your people.
That actually leads me to the next question that I did prepare here, and that is like if you look at, you know, Negroponte said that everything that can be digital will be digital, right? And that is not some other gentleman that sometimes claim to have said that. That was Negroponte that did that. But I was just thinking that if you look at the printing industry, where you get, I mean, if you look at the offset world, there's relatively few players in the market. But if you look at the digital space, both toner and inkjet, there's a lot of suppliers in the market. Do you think that it will open up for a, let's say, a more competitive approach to do their own, let's say, software and hardware to do what Fiery is doing today? Or will they more like go back to you and say that let's develop things together? I'm talking about it from a, maybe not so much from a user perspective, because I don't think they care so much as long as it works. But I was just thinking that it probably is both a market opportunity, but also a potential threat, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, obviously, we're watching the market space, we're watching what's going on, and there has been interesting movements, right? I mean, we had all those small software vendors, and then they started to disappear. They started to get acquired, right? I mean, Canon owns Onyx, Caldera is owned by Dover, and et cetera, et cetera. So it seems that more and more printer manufacturers want to own the workflow and want to, you know, provide their customer with a turnkey solution. And, you know, as EFI, we did the same thing, right?
And I take that is because, I mean, if you look at every printing company out there today are tutored by the media, by the vendors, by the consultants that automation. Yeah. So therefore, the more you own of that entire value chain, of course, makes sense from a business perspective. I was just more thinking that you know as well as me that sometimes a PSP might think it's more valuable for them to create their own web-to-print solution. But when they had done the first iteration, they figure out, okay, it's a constant investment in actually following up with the requirements from the market. So sometimes it is cheaper to buy something coming from a bigger company, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's where I was kind of heading. I mean, it makes sense for a hardware manufacturer to say, I want to own a piece of software as well, so I control it all. Yeah. But it becomes an battle or an path that you can almost not finish, because your customer doesn't have just your printers. They all have a mixed environment, and you need to be open, you need to be connected, you need to be able to shoot JDFs around, etc. And this becomes a challenge where in centralized player that's independent will always be better suited, and it's a big effort. And Fiery has just done the exact opposite of what the industry is doing, right? Instead of RIPs that are disappearing, we reappeared not as a small software vendor, but as the biggest independent rib manufacturer on the planet, really. I mean,
Fantastic.
funny to say it that way, but
You did it. Chris, before we have Q&As, I have a very, I hope it's a good question, because I did not know it was actually you that referred to me. You acquired a company called Catlink, and to be honest, I remember I saw some press release, and then I forgot all about it. So bring me up to speed.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, Fiery is investing, right? It's not that, you know, we split up from EFI and therefore we don't acquire anymore. When it makes sense, we invest, and very happily. And yeah, we acquired a company, Catlink, which I'm very happy that I'm involved with as well since January 1st. So Catlink is yet another rib manufacturer. So why do we need another rib, right? We are already a very big rib vendor. The reason for it is because Catlink is addressing a market which is just so interesting. We are all coming out of, you know, this offset or the, you know.
And I take with the name, it must be something that is with CAD/CAM and 3D space, right?
They do a lot within CNC and with engraving, but the main growing market is textile DTF, direct to film. And this space is just exploding. So it's very exciting. It's kind of the other side of a hall where we usually don't hang out. And when we walk over, there's all the t-shirt and the heat presses, etc. And I mean, we have placed, and I say we already, 15,000 solution within the last 2 years in this DTF space.
Wow.
So it's growing very fast, and obviously, you know, color is important and integration starts becoming important, so there's a lot of synergies we can do.
Yeah, because I was just about to say that, because if people look back at the old EFI, which was like all the three now companies, eProductivity, EFI and Fiery, it seemed that a lot of the growth came from, let's say, integrations and acquisitions. And I was just saying that I don't know, but sometimes I was like, are all these software really integrated deeply into each other? And I take that when you say that when you have acquired this, and with the focus that you have as Fiery, you want to basically take the synergies from both worlds and make them available to both customers, right?
That's always the, we call it the Fiery multiplier, right? I mean, we're acquiring because we like the people, the software, and we see that Fiery can do something for them. Maybe to give you a good example, in the past as EFI, for me always the perfect acquisition was Cretaprint actually. Cretaprint are those single pass ceramic printers. They didn't have their own electronics, which we were able to give them. They didn't have a color management, we were able to give them that. Then we took that single pass technology and we started building the Nozomi out of it, right? So those are those multipliers where you can take multiple pieces and you can start helping them and them us, right? So for me personally speaking now, I'm responsible for sales globally for Fiery XF and Catlink, and by merging that team together, well, we're more people, which is always good from a backup teamwork, etc. But also, I mean, there's separate channels, but there's also a channel where it overlaps, and we can bring new product to existing channels on both sides, which is very, very positive.
Fantastic. Now it's time for the Q&A. We have actually 3 questions. Are you ready?
No.
No, damn it. Okay, but I hope you will be when I ask the question. I think it's a relevant question. The first one is with the split of Fiery and EFI, is there any changes to existing customers when it comes to service level agreements and support?
Okay, perfect question. I mean, we have a multitude of different customers.
You have decided to answer.
Yeah, I will decide. That one I will answer. So we have a multitude of different customers, right? I assume this question is specifically for customers that are having EFI printers, because I think they're EFI ViewTech printers. That's where the question will come up more often. There's really no change. We always treated ViewTech as, you know, one of the EFI brands as an internal OEM, so to speak. So EFI ViewTech buys Fiery internally and now, you know, externally, and sells it to the customer. So the customer has a business relationship.
So there will be no change in that relationship, basically, right? So that is like, it must be comforting for people knowing, because of course it's always like when the changes happens, what happens to me, right?
Exactly.
Second question is, I think it's also quite good, and maybe a little bit in the same, and maybe within your area, because it's from a guy, Steven, and he's asking, well, when will be the next release of Fiery XF, and what will be the main features?
So the next release version will be version 7.4. We will see it in the second half of the year, product manager will likely kill me if I'm disclosing what the main stories
But
are.
we take our chances, so just bring it on.
I will tell you that
Okay,
we
no.
have some rather big surprises around
Okay.
productivity.
Sorry, I was joking with you, Chris, but
No,
you know me, right?
All good. No, but it will be a lightning fast product.
Okay.
That is at least one of the main stories.
Okay, so that is something that you, I guess, look very much forward to bring to market, right?
100%. We know day-to-day production means that I'm doing last-minute changes, printers are sitting idle, and performance matters.
Another great question from Clive. He is asking, with the split between Fiery and EFI, who do I contact for support on Fiery for an EFI ViewTech? And that is similar to what you said, but I think that it actually splits into two questions, because you have, of course, the support of the hardware and you have the support of the software, right? Or the RIPs, basically. Right?
Exactly. So both phone numbers will work,
Okay.
right? So you either call the printer manufacturer that you got the Fiery from, and they will help you, or usually the Fiery comes with at least 1 year of maintenance, and then you can renew the maintenance after, and that allows you to go directly to Fiery as well. So both numbers that you had in the past will continue to work.
Fantastic. With that said, thank you very much for your time here, Chris. It was wonderful to see you again. So let's wrap this round up here. I think Chris, he gave some very good explanations and inside information about Fiery and what it means to customers with the split between EFI and Fiery. And we will now have a short break where you have the opportunity to visit Fiery's booth at Printing Expo Online. And then after this one, we're going to again to talk to Phil Oakley from Cornet about the metaverse. So I think that will be pretty exciting. So stay tuned, and we are back in just a few minutes.